What is going on, guys? I am back, and today I am unveiling the start of something new for this channel. This is going to be the inaugural first episode of This Week in Bodybuilding. Okay, so my plan was to actually start this kind of series prior, or rather post Olympia. But in the few days since I posted my last video with my Olympia predictions, we have already got some news that needs to be shared. And I'm sure many of you know what that is, but there's also a few other little things I wanted to address as well. So for now, first episode, right before the Olympia, we are exactly a week away as of the time I'm recording this on the 5th, Saturday. So we are 1 week out from the O. That's awesome. Super excited. Let me tell you, I live in Vegas now. We moved to Vegas earlier this year, and I have been seeing some of the athletes in person. I got to see Stefan and Martin, as well as Urs, at Torture Gym yesterday, and man, it makes me want to move Martin up a little bit further. I don't think I can, given where he was on the list and what's happened now, to obviously alter my list a little bit for my top 10 picks. But he's looking great. So I'm super excited to see this show and how some of those guys come in. Very, very cool to see that, see these guys in person, and see what the Olympia is going to look like before it happens. Kind of. That being said, let's hop right into this update. So this is going to be probably a little shorter of an update because it's not been a full week since I did my last video, but since it is the first episode of This Week in Bodybuilding, we have a good bit of stuff to cover still. So let's start out with some good news first. The good, in fact, great news, and we can see it here, I think. I think Buys and Tries posted something on it. Right here, the Pit Pro is now going to include open bodybuilding with a prize of $100,000 for the winner. That is awesome. That is Dubai Pro money in the States, which is awesome to see because that will be a huge show for pretty much every athlete wanting to do now to collect a paycheck. Before, just this last year when Dubai upped their prize to 100,000, obviously we had a lot of athletes who decided to go over there because hey, it's a big paycheck. But it also kept some people away, I think, because it's Dubai. If you're coming from the States, it's a long trip, it's a lot of travel, it's exhausting. It's just the logistics of it. Whereas Pittsburgh is, for most people, a few hour flight at most. So it is much more accessible to the guys in the US and also for a lot of the South American guys. So it'll be really interesting to see who all hops in on this show. I believe we had a couple people talking about hopping in on this, but I don't know if there's anybody confirmed yet. Regardless, I think we will see a lot more confirmations coming forward purely because this is just awesome prize money. And this is overall a really good thing for the industry and the sport as a whole, is seeing this prize money jump to the point where you could have guys who now make a living purely off of winning shows. I mean, this isn't, they don't even have to go to the Olympia. If you made 100 grand, yeah, Uncle Sam's going to come and cut your taxes and probably take what, 40% of that. That's still 60 grand you're walking away with, which is more than most average people's salaries in the United States. So it's really awesome to see that now the money is coming up to a point where it makes sense for a lot of athletes to hop into these shows for more than just the qualification for the Olympia and more than just having fun with it. There's actually an incentive for them because a lot of guys who just like to compete will hop into a ton of shows just because they enjoy competing, even if there's not that much of an incentive. But with the added incentive of this type of a paycheck, that could entice some of the guys we don't see in the circuit as often, most notably the people who are grandfathered into their Olympia show because of a prior winning or placement. It might entice them to hop on the stage in some other areas. So that's really cool to see. And I'm hoping we will see some really, really, really good shows coming up, not just Pit Pro, but just other shows that are upping that prize money and really increasing the quality of their lineup because they've increased the quality of their offering. So very, very cool there. That is the first thing we wanted to touch on today. But the first bit of bad news, which again, I'm sure many of you know this or saw this already, Nick is out. Now, if you saw my prediction video, my top 10 video, then you'll know that I had a hard time placing Nick because he hadn't been posting updates for a little while. I think the last update we had from him where it was like a full update on his physique was like 8 weeks ago. And I assumed he was just playing it close to the chest because, hey, he's, people are kind of counting him out anyway, and he just wants to surprise everybody. And maybe that was the case. But looking back after hearing that Nick is out, it more likely is the case that they made that decision a little while ago and he wasn't happy with where his physique was and wasn't putting it out there because of that. So sad to see that Nick will not be competing. The official reason that they listed is just that his body was not responding. His body is not where it needs to be. That could mean a lot of different things, so I don't like to speculate too much, but to me that most likely just means health issues where he's just struggling. So all the best to Nick. Hope he has a speedy recovery from whatever he is dealing with in terms of getting his body to the correct place. I know this is obviously brutal for him since he had to pull out last year as well for a hamstring injury, and then coming into a situation like this where you're not going to be able to be at your best even after you've gone down that road to recovery and you're now facing other issues. That sucks. So all the best to Nick. I would have loved to see him on stage. I was really hoping we get to see him up there with some of the top guys to just kind of see what he can do and if there's any damage he could inflict on the stage. But it's now back to hoping to see that in 2025. So best of luck to him. But yeah, Nick is out. So on that note, let's touch on my top 10. Now, my top 10 previously was Derek, Hottie, Andrew, Samson, Hunter, Nick, Martin, John Jewett, Brandon, and then Bonak. Nothing is changing with that list, except everybody is moving up to fill the spot that Nick is now vacating. So my list is now Derek, Hottie, Andrew, Samson, Hunter, Martin, John Jewett, Brandon Curry, and William Bonak. That 10th place spot, however, which is a very hard spot for me previously and something that I wasn't entirely sure about before, I am solidifying my top 10 and rounding it out with Rafael Brandao in the 10th place spot. Part of the reason I say that is we have seen a relatively recent update from Rafa here. He's looking good. The issue or the challenge for Rafa, I think, has always been just that perfectly crisp conditioning. So we will just have to see how he looks on show day. But this update, looking really solid. I mean, obviously, we're in gym lighting here. Perfect conditions, still not up to the show. Post lift, probably has a pump. So not ideal conditions for a check-in there, not a true check-in. I think there was another photo here of him though, but yeah, he is looking pretty gnarly. So I'm excited to see how he comes in. Rafa's one of those guys who I think he could come in and blow people away. He might end up as high as like 7th. I don't know if he's going to be able to push for 6th, but maybe. But again, he has, I think, to dial in that conditioning to really, really push that hard. But if he comes in perfect, who knows? So for now, he's getting my top 10 spot. And I shouldn't even say for now. He just is getting it because that's my locked in pick going into the show. Those are my final picks. Once again, my final top 10 picks: Derek, Hottie, Andrew, Samson, Hunter, Martin, John Jewett, Brandon Curry, William Bonak, and Rafa. That is my top 10, and I'm sticking by it. So we'll see how that plays out. Let me know your top 10 in the comments below if you've got them picked out. And if you don't, pick them out quick because you got a week. That's it. On that note, though, I also want to talk about Andrew. Man, I don't remember where I saw this video of him, and I would have to find it again. But Andrew was talking about having a bit of a tweak. I think he said from air under his rib cage. I don't understand exactly what he means there, but he was talking about having a little bit of a, I don't want to call it an injury, but it just threw him off a little bit to the point where he couldn't really bend onto his left side as well. And he couldn't really lift from his left side as well. But regardless, I don't think that's going to affect him in the Olympia too much. However, I wanted to note that because it's interesting to note that in this video, he was talking about a little bit of this trapped air kind of sensation and this discomfort and being unable to move certain ways on his left side. That's kind of critical because something Andrew struggles with is his side shots. And when Andrew hits his side shots, he hits them from the left side. So if he already struggles with his side shots, adding in a potential factor that could make them a little bit worse is potentially damaging to him. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. If I find the video, I will link that below for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. It's not major. It's not like an injury. It's not like he's lifting up his shirt and has, bruising all the way down the side or something ridiculous. He was just talking about how he tweaked it doing warm-ups a little bit, I think for his triceps, weirdly enough. But all the best to him. Hope that it doesn't impact him. Just something to note. Keep that in your mind if you haven't made your picks yet. I already have, so I can't change him. I still have Andrew in third. Not going to doubt him at all. That is pretty much it, other than, Beiruz. He is fully out. This is something I kind of touched on in my last video. We just kind of assumed this was going to be the case, but unfortunately, the visa situation for Beiruz just not happening. It really sucks to see this because these guys work so hard year round to be able to get ready for a show they don't know if they're going to be able to make it to. And when they can't make it to the Olympia after they qualify, they work their ass off, they win their pro show, whatever. It just sucks to see these guys not being able to come in because of other situations that might be going on. Obviously, we know there's a whole mess in the Middle East right now, and that's obviously impacting this. But again, it just sucks to see. And I really would love to see guys like Beiruz, Nathan be able to make it to the States and hop on stage because, like I've said before, that would completely shake up a lot of the rankings that people have out there. I know it would definitely change mine. I mean, Beiruz would definitely be in my top 10. Nathan would definitely be in my top 10. So it sucks. I hate that these guys can't make it in, and that this is a detriment to the industry, in my opinion, just because it's, you have some of the most competitive athletes and they just can't compete. And there's nothing that the IFBB can really do about that, other than maybe vouch for these guys a little harder. But I don't know to what extent they do that already. I'm sure they go out of their way to try and help these guys get in if they can, especially if they're Olympia qualified. Obviously, they want more athletes at the show because it just looks better. It's better competition. It makes it more interesting. So it sucks. I feel for him. I feel for Nathan as well. I don't think we have an official confirmation that Nathan's not in yet. I don't believe, but everyone can pretty much assume that it's not going to happen. And be surprised if it does. But yeah, sorry to hear it for Beiruz, but he is out just due to visa issues for the, third time. That sucks, man. That really sucks. And then let's see what else we've got here. Oh yeah, bonus mention. I wanted to highlight this picture of Regan in the off season. I saw this the other day. I love this. Regan is one of the last guys out there who is taking these off seasons to the next level and pushing the way he needs to push. I think you see a lot of guys nowadays get to the point where they are comfortable with their size on stage, even if they need more size, and they're very hesitant to push to put that size on just because they don't want to fall too far out of condition. They have this mentality of like, I have to be ready for the next show, whatever. And yeah, like you have to keep it within reason, right? You can't just balloon, you can't do a Lee Priest bulk and end up like, a complete and total blob. But I love seeing Regan like this for the reasoning I just outlined, that it's just awesome to see a guy who's like, yeah, I need size. I'm going to fucking put the size on. Like one way or another, we're adding size. and so I loved seeing this update. This was great. It's good to see Regan actually putting in the time and the effort to make the improvements he needs, because Regan is one of my favorite guys in the sport right now. I think he's got a very bright future ahead of him on the stage. So really cool to see him pushing himself, and I'm happy and excited to see what he comes back with next year, if it's next year that he decides to hop back into things and give it a go. But yeah, I think that is about it for this week, guys, for the first inaugural episode of This Week in Bodybuilding. The next episode will be either the day after the Olympia or the Monday following the Olympia. I am actually doing some Olympia-related events in person, so I will be pretty busy throughout the show. I'm going to get another video recap of the Olympia out and the next week of news. If we have any major changes before the Olympia, like someone else pulling out or God forbid or anything like that, then I will be sure to put out another brief midweek update. But for now, guys, that is going to be it. If you want to stay up to date with all the latest bodybuilding news, subscribe. Make sure to sign up for alerts and you'll be notified. I'm going to do a new video every single week covering this week in bodybuilding. Until next time, guys, take it easy. And don't forget to let me know your picks below.